Greetings, brothers and sisters. This is February 1st, 2024. This video is, I'm going to make a video each day of these gatherings. Hopefully I'll remember to do this next time. At least for this gathering, I'll do it. The Basant gathering on February 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, celebrating the first master of the Sahaj Marg system, Philology's birthday. But this video is also going to go in the gatherings playlist, because I'm going to say things that are important to any gathering in the future, and whatever it is. But first of all, this is an opportunity or a place for people to leave comments or write questions, and whatever it might be. So one of the beauties of the Gratefullness meditation that has now been a process for the past year, and it is a new version of the Sahaj Marg system. The only thing different about the system is it is a masterless system. It doesn't have a master. It is the same as Sahaj Marg, but recognizing that Daji isn't a master, and whatever that means, him having some sort of spiritual fall. And if you read the Sahaj Marg literature, the master is kind of key. Like in the living master, having somebody who is a like a relay point, and then also a person that you can talk to or meet and observe and things like this, as an example of the pinnacle of the Sahaj Marg system, and somebody who's conscious and on the physical plane of existence, who can meet you and or meditate and read your condition and set up your spiritual like a sort of a spiritual treatment plan, right? And so when my preceptor first went to meet Babaji, or he met Babaji a number of times in Shahjahanpur, the second master of the system, Babaji would sit in his courtyard and people would gather around him, and if there was a new person, he'd have the person sit next to him, and Babaji would smoke his hookah, this big sort of water pipe filled with tobacco, jaggery, and charcoal. And he would smoke a little bit of his hookah, and then he would, and had this, the bubbling of the hookah. His successor would write or put out a series of videos called Hubble Bubble, where he described, sitting with Babaji and listening to the bubbling of his hookah, which kind of, an interesting sort of like just humanizing these experiences and things. But Babaji would look at the person's heart and then look away, and then look at the person's heart, and then do this several times, smoke the hookah, and then finally look at the person and say, "Now I'm on your case," which meant he was planning and helping this person spiritual evolution. And so the role of the master has always been a centerpiece of the Sahaj Marg system. And unfortunately, whatever's happened with Daji, whatever test this is for people, whatever cleansing this is for the mission, I don't know what it is, right? But there isn't that now. I've made myself available, whatever spiritual evolution I've had, whatever yatra point I'm in, whatever way that I can be used as like an antenna or a conduit for people's practice. I've volunteered for that in the sense of doing the Gratefullness meditation, but certainly I'm not a master, and I'm not able to. I don't have the training and the the capabilities to do that work the way it was done before by Charji and Babaji and Lalaji and the system. But what it does do is it changes the responsibility from the master to the aspirant, the spiritual aspirant, the abhyasi, which is, I think, a good thing and a needed thing. In the past, there were people, especially in India, where they would have a decision to make about 2 jobs, or whether they moved to America or not, or something like this. And they would write to the master and get a response, and he'd say, "Do this." Some of us would write to him, and we just, it was in his hands. Like sometimes in my early days, I wrote to Charji about things, and not so much about decisions, but just things that I was struggling with. And once I had written to him, it just took care of itself. It resolved itself. Like I didn't need him to respond, tell me what to do or whatever. which is, you know, and then over the years, I've just been able to do that internally, not needing to write to him, just being able to sort of put it in front of the master. You know, in Christianity, they would say, give it up to the Lord, or whatever it is. You know, it's a process where you surrendering something to God, and then the answer comes to you. And over time, you have to learn to do that. But unfortunately, for a lot of these people, these Abhyasis, they wanted Charji to tell them everything. You know, he'd arrange their marriages, he'd name their kids, right? Sometimes things like that. And, you know, even smaller things. Like I joke that, you know, they'd have to write to them and call them before they brush their teeth, right? And they relied heavily on the masters. And all of the masters, at least Babaji and Charji, at the end of their lives, lamented how much they were doing for the Abhyasis and how little the Abhyasis were doing for themselves. And now that's not a problem, because people have to take personal responsibility and do the practice and, you know, do whatever needs to be done. In terms of the Gratefulness meditation, there is a comprehensive set of videos and playlists here that let you know everything you need to know about doing Gratefulness meditation, which is just the old Sahaj Marg method with more personal responsibility. It tells you how to do the system. It tells you the prayer you need to say. It tells you, you know, everything you need to know about it. And, you know, you're needing to reach out and connect to the system. And one of the good things or great things about the system is that you just have to be willing, like willing participant. Like the main thing is to be willingly and able to try the system. You don't have to even full-heartedly believe in it, but just saying, all right, I'm willing to give it a try. And in terms of this gathering, let's say you can't meditate as long. Like there's, you know, some of the advantages is it's at your convenience. Like there's not a set time because there's different time zones. And, you know, I'm not doing a live cast where we're all meditating together, which would be nice, but it won't, you know, if someone's in Australia or there's people in Ireland or whatever it is, or in California, you know, we have a big time zone difference and maybe somebody has to go to work or whatever, you're not available. So whenever you can meditate. But even if you can't meditate, if you're just willing to participate, you know, you're in some situation where you have little kids or, you know, you don't have time to sit for a while, you can just sit for the time period that you can, or while you're doing your work and things like this, at least try to connect mentally to it and feel the transmission. And the other thing is the transmission can spontaneously come to you. And that's how this started in the first place last Basant, when the transmission came to me. And I was like, wow, I don't, you know. And I knew Daji wasn't giving the sitting, and I wasn't feeling anything from him anyway. And I'm like, wow, we can do, I'm just going to connect directly. And so the direct connection is there. So again, if you're interested in doing this, you need to watch all the videos on this YouTube channel, especially the ones that describe the practice. And then everything is, you know, should be, you should be able to figure out how to do it. And a lot of it is just like Waiting for the Great Pumpkin in Charlie Brown, you know, where you sit down and you get into a meditative state and you're just, you know, waiting for the transmission and the experience to happen. And once you feel the transmission, then you're, you know, you're just chasing that, or you're allowing that to come to you, or whatever you want to look at it. You're preparing to receive that. And it can be at any time. Like you might feel it when you're, you know, with people, you know, when you're doing the 9 p.m. prayer. I mean, I felt it at work, and, you know, you just all of a sudden transmission. It's divine grace that just falls, you know, enters into your heart and your system. You can just feel it randomly. And, you know, it's just like, you know, your heart opens up. This love is, divine love is just there. It's like you have a gush of, you know, this loving energy. And it's something you can't control or describe, and you just, you know, learn to cultivate it. You have to, you know, everyone has a meditator inside them, and we all know how to meditate. We all do meditate in one way or another. It's a, you know, it's something that, it's a part of the human, you know, mental and the mental experience, right? It's a, like you have like daydreaming, and you have like sleep, and you have like, you know, partial sleep, and you have, you know, active thinking and concentration, and you have these phases that your brain goes through. Of course, your subconscious mind and these other things. And you also have a soul, as, you know, it's relaxing and connecting with your soul and having this joint experience, right? Your soul is in your body, but it also is in an etheric plane of existence. When your soul leaves your body, it has a place it's going to return to. And there's different levels, and there's different, you know, there's different proximities to to the the source of divinity, that each soul finds its place. And this system helps your soul move closer to God and be in a higher or more refined level of consciousness outside of the physical realm of existence, right? Your soul is not bound by space or time. And that's how these sittings work, right? The sittings aren't in the video. When you watch the video, the sittings aren't emanating from your computer or your phone, or they're not coming through any kind of technology. The phone in the sitting and the video you're watching, that you're doing in the playlist, is helping you connect, your soul connect on a, you're giving yourself permission to connect on a spiritual level. And so the video is only necessary so that you have something that connects you mentally and materially to the divine, and then you sit. And that's why it's not bound by time and space. Like I can give a sitting here at 9 a.m. on my time, or whatever it was. It obviously was earlier than today, at 7 a.m. And you could be in Ireland or someplace that it's already 10 o'clock in the morning, and you sat earlier, when I was sleeping. You sat hours before, but you were experiencing that sitting that wasn't given till later. Like people can sit in a different time zone in Asia or Russia or Europe or something like this, that is on an earlier time zone, and you can sit earlier than the sitting was even given, and it doesn't matter that it's experienced, right? There's a time that Babaji said he would give a long distance sitting to somebody, like an important person who wanted to experience the method. This was back when there's only a couple thousand people doing it. And Babaji said, okay, sit at such and such a time. And the guy wanted to test him, and so he sat like earlier, and he felt transmission. And he said, and he wrote to Babaji, or he talked to Babaji. He goes, how is that possible? And Babaji said, oh, I just gave you a sitting thinking that it would reach you whenever you decided to meditate. Like Babaji didn't do it at a specific time. He just had the mental, your mental capacity is our ability, our thought force is divine in nature, and so you can utilize it to bypass time and space. Your thought force isn't, you can think about being, you can think of a memory and go back into the past, and you can see the future, right? So our thought force isn't bound by time and space. We're limited by our perception of the third dimensional reality, so it sort of binds us to the now as we move on a linear path through time, moment to moment, but time is actually cyclical, and our thought force and our hearts can, our etheric hearts can move, past that, beyond that, right? And so that's how this system works. And so it's really just about being willing and, saying I'm open to experiencing whatever this system has to offer. And then it's just being sensitive enough and clean enough, going through whatever cleaning process, which is part of these sittings. The part of these sittings is cleaning out things, and that can create restlessness and things like this. But the transmission is then made available, or you can then absorb the transmission, because there's things being cleaned out that could be replaced inside your system, right? Like some sort of vacuum is created, something is removed, and then something better and more refined is put in its place. Something undesirable spiritually is removed, some sort of impressions, and transmission is given. So anyways, like I said, I'm going to add this to the Gatherings playlist. But again, if you have questions, please watch all the videos on this channel, the instructional videos. It tells you how to do the system, and it's in these different playlists. And some of the stuff's going to be repetitive because you have to hear it over and over again. And you can go back and rewatch the videos, and they'll make more sense after you try the system. But it's an experiential system, right? Before there was, in the early days, Babaji would make preceptors, and there was zero literature. And Babaji wasn't a talkative person. He didn't do much in terms of explaining anything. And these preceptors were expected to go out and give sittings just based in their meditative experience. They were just supposed to close their eyes and figure out how to give a sitting without any instruction, right? And so, but they could have. Like, that's not something that, he Babaji just expected them to be more spiritually advanced than they were. Eventually there was some instructions given and preceptor, seminars and books and things. But even with that, you have to do the work on the spiritual level. So you're taking something where there you have literature and you have a material explanation that satisfies your mental and your egotistical consciousness. But to do the meditation, you have to just fall into the meditation. You have to, you have to go to that level of your experience. And it's different there, right? It's just like doing something inside yourself, inside your internal system, in a sense of like using your imagination to cut the lawn, right? Like, let's say you got a lawnmower and you go mow your lawn with the lawnmower, or you hammer in a nail or something. But then you could think about it, right? It's like people who meditate, athletes who meditate, right? Who like, for example, quarterbacks have used certain video games, football video games, to help them read coverages, and there's good simulations. It's like doing a flight simulator, where you go and you sit in a flight simulator, even though you're not flying, you're having that experience. And so people use their internal worlds to meditate and to have these experiences where they close their eyes and they envision themselves being successful. They envision themselves doing something in the material world, right? And so this is something that's deeper, where you're now entering into that spiritual realm and doing something spiritual. You're not imagining yourself doing something materially. You're going into the spiritual world, and you're having an adventure inside, in a sense, and going on a journey and going back to the source, finding the divinity within you, searching and finding the divinity within you. And the transmission and the cleaning of the system helps. And people have to, you have to go do it. It's just like anything else. It's a travel. It's a journey. You have to step on that, the place where you take the journey, right? Like if you're taking a physical journey, you have to go outside and walk, or get in a car, or get in a train, or get in a plane, or spaceship, or whatever, a Star Trek transporter, or whatever it is. You have to do something physically to go from one place to another. In the spiritual world, you close your eyes and you contact your, this part of you that's divine, the soul inside of you, and you focus on that soul, and that soul is going on a spiritual yatra through your internal system, and you have experiences, and information comes to you, and you have, these kind of internal experiences of different realms of consciousness, and things open up to you, right? But you have to, close your eyes and be willing to do it. Anyways, like I said, I'm going to put this in the gatherings playlist, and there'll be, future. Tomorrow I'll just do a small little voiceover. Maybe I might have more thoughts tomorrow, whatever, too. But it's a place for you to sort of connect and, ask questions or leave comments of your experiences or whatever it is. There'll be another meditation tonight, and then 2 more on the February 2nd, and then 2 more on February 3rd, and just do it at your convenience. Like I said, only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely pointing from the Apocalaughs and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.